and gentlemen, we're going to have a next keynote address by Mr. Amit Sharma, Managing Partner, Global Delivery, IBM Consulting. Ladies and gentlemen, currently he leads all the innovation and delivery centers of IBM's global business services around the world. Since 2008, he has been the member of IBM's chairman's senior leadership team comprising IBM's top 300 executives globally, focused on the growth, transformation, and strategy of the company. He was named as the Chief Operations Officer of IBM's Cloud Application Innovation Unit globally in 2017. He was named as the Vice President and General Manager Operations, IBM, India, South Asia in March 2010, where had a senior line leadership role with overall responsibility for finance, corporate and business development, sales, operations and strategy, in addition to driving integration efforts across the global missions located in India, South Asia. So ladies and gentlemen, let's put your hands together. May I have Mr. Amit Sharma on stage with a louder applause.
Sunil, you really stole most of my talking points. Okay, so that was just spectacular in terms of how you laid out what you saw. So I ended up with some penciled remarks, which is what I'm going to talk about. But first off, I just want to thank everyone for their time, because that's the most valuable thing in this world. And the fact that you chose to spend your morning here with us means a lot. We hope it will be of value to you. And the IBM company has been around for a while. It's over 110 years old and has played a pivotal role in essentially creating and almost moving the whole technology world in several eras. I have a unique vantage point. I have over 100,000 people who work for me in like 38 different countries, and I'm seeing this change that Sunil mentioned accelerating at a pace that has never happened before, at least in my working lifetime, which is close to 30 years now. So what I would like to just point out to a few factoids in terms of which haven't been pointed out yet, is that if you think we have seen speed, which was accelerated by the pandemic, I think there's another thing, particularly in India, that we need to watch out for. And that's for the fact that there is still a chunk of growth of the internet that hasn't happened here. We still have 30–40% more growth that's expected. I think we currently have 600 odd million users, and that's expected to grow to 900 odd million users in a few years. So there is still more to come. A lot's happened in the last 24 months, but I think there's a lot more to come in the next few. So if anything, this world's going to get even more interesting. So we will live in even more interesting times. Now, having said that, I think from the experience in the last few quarters, I think it's clear that online education is here to stay, and the need for skilling, I think, is understood by one and all. I'll tell you, it's always good to see what's coming and what's the past both at the same time. So I took a peek into the statistics of my organization. I run essentially a consulting firm, and with several tens of thousands, I told you over 100,000 practitioners. What do I sell? I sell time. I sell their skills by virtue of time. And how do I make sure that they're relevant is by skilling and reskilling. I spend tens of millions of dollars a quarter on reskilling my teams. Now, how does that happen? It happens largely online, largely. Now, I do have classrooms, I do have some, some touching, feeling stuff, but over 90% of it is really, on the web, and through, to some degree, already on the metaverse. So we're already there internally in terms of how industry is, making its own cooking, if you will, in this space, but it's coming by virtue of a necessity. I need to do that to stay relevant. My team members who are, people whom I hired 3 years ago from college and trained them on something are not necessarily relevant to what I'm trying to get done today because they have to learn new stuff. And that new stuff is also evolving at pace. So we do this. I mean, I have a learning, it's called a learning and knowledge development team that does this full time. You know, hundreds of people whose job is really to make our internal curriculum and get it deployed. But the point I'm making to you is, this is mainstream insofar as the tech world is it's already there. Now, in other industries, it may not be there yet, but it's also a function of the fact that our industry moves very fast. So when it comes to the need, I think there's an absolute need when it comes to what academic institutions do. There's absolutely a need to embrace this and run this and scale this like never before, because the demand is exploding. The next thing I'll tell you is, I'll tell you from my vantage point, as you must have heard about, you know, all the challenges with respect to, you know, talent and talent acquisition and attrition. You know, we obviously, you know, hire tens of thousands of people, and, you know, as we do that, we're always looking to new markets. So, you know, I just announced, you know, new locations in, you know, in Mysore, in Coimbatore, in Cochin, to name a few. So why are we doing that? We're trying to go closer to where skills exist, where academic institutions exist, because talent doesn't necessarily have to come as far away to the large cities. But the reason I'm stating that is, we need the ability of, or rather, we need skills of international. We need skills that across the board from everywhere, and we need institutes everywhere to be at the same or on the same platform. And that's kind of where we believe that Mona and her team can play a role, because they have some capabilities, they have some experiences, and they have global insight into what is the future like, what initiatives are needed, what skill sets are needed, what kind of curriculum interventions are needed, and they also have the ability to share platforms and make sure that we all come together on this. IBM as a company is very different for those of you who follow the the technology world compared to where we've been. You know, we were obviously a very successful company by virtue of the technologies we invented and the technologies we patented, and whether it's the mainframe era or the client server era or even the IBM PC which we invented and so on. But in today's world, it's really about AI and hybrid cloud. And AI and hybrid cloud really comes together only on the strength of the ecosystem. It is, I mean, if you look at, I mean, our clients are really the Fortune 500 companies. The vast majority of our, clients and our revenues come from there. And the vast majority of them operate multiple cloud environments. And what that means is they require the ability to operate, to have interoperable systems and have them talk to each other. What does that need? That requires skills. What skills? All types of skills. It's not good enough if you just have one type. You need to, because different clients have different requirements and operate on different clouds, you need a variety of skills. So what do I do in response as IBM? I create and I work on the ecosystem. And you here in this room are one of the most vital part of that ecosystem. Because this ecosystem is growing and adapting, and it needs your interventions. You have the most influence. You have the ability, you have students captive with you for 3-4 years. That is huge. Companies don't have the luxury of having employees. I can't guarantee that every employee who comes here will work for me for 4 years. You typically have that. So I think it's incumbent on us as business leaders to make sure that we impart skills and make the best of that captive time we have of our students, to give them the best possible interventions such that they can make a difference in the world. And I think we're really at a turning point where the infusion, I think Mona had a good set of, she had data and AI and 6 or 7 other things. But we are at an inflection point because those are really going to set the stage for what the world is going to be. And while we may not think of it that way, we think of world, incrementally. The rate and pace at which these changes are happening are going to make it ever more important. So what I would like to, ask of this team is to spend the time today to, to poke at different facets of this, of digital skilling, and make sure we understand how we can contribute and how we can partner in this ecosystem. I think there is huge potential here in India where we have such large, from a demographics perspective, this is, clearly one of the best places in the world where we can leverage and create outcomes that almost no other part of the world can possibly do. So I'm going to conclude essentially on, on a point almost where I started, that please spend the time over the lunch, please network, please make the most of the interaction, leverage Mona's team and our Red Hat teams to make sure that you can get the best in terms of the connections with each other as well as with what we have to offer, and more importantly, find a way to craft a better future for all of us. So thank you.